Okay, I just want to talk to you about the skills of these two surfers, Harry and Lockie. They're at the development stage of surfing, and I'll just show you some of their skills right now. You can see uh, they're right there, just learning how to do the basic skills in surfing, and having problems with generating speed, having problems with bending their body, having problems with making decisions when catching waves, and having a straighter body again, not being able to do full complete turns. They do things like they surf more in the middle of the wave rather than going to the top and bottom. And they also, whenever they're doing their turns, they can do turns, but they're quite soft and they lack power. And so these are the areas that they need to. So this is Harry that we've just seen, and the next surfer we'll see will be Lockie. So here's Lockie. See, similar standard to Harry. So they're doing half turns, having problems generating speed, and also typical of this generation or this level is going through the wave, not hitting the top or bottom, and then coming to the finishing maneuver and falling off or falling backwards. Okay, so the areas that Harry and Lockie need to work on are these ones here, just like, so generating speed at takeoff and learning the skill of getting to your feet fast, up, straightening the body and lifting both arms in the direction where they want to go. And you can see actually when they do that, when it's done correctly, you can see the board really jumps up and responds to the lifting and straightening of the body. The second thing they need to do is on their backhand, they need to learn how to bend their body and also lift their arm up high above their head as they come out of the turn, especially if they're going to do vertical turns. Initially, they just need to start thinking about using that leading arm and lifting up towards the lip, because what that does, that directs the power from the bottom turn up into the lip area. The third thing they need to do is to bend their body more on their forehand cutbacks. Harry in particular, because he's a taller, leaner person, he needs to come out and bend the body and do it more than he thinks he should. So because that will then allow him to straighten more forcefully as he comes out of the turn. Lockie, on the other hand, Lockie has a problem where the front arm here stays forward and it locks the body, it restricts the turning of the head and locks the body, and so he struggles to get a full and complete turn because of that arm being locked forward in the start of the turn. So that's an area for Lockie needs to do, and then finally both of them need to come out and bend their body more on the backhand cutback, because what they need to do again is to come out, bend their legs more, get their chest closer to their knees, so that they can eventually generate the power necessary to be able to do a high rebound, which is the ultimate goal of a cutback manoeuvre. The other area that needs to be thought about is to do practicing jumping up to their feet fast. Both of them are a little bit slow in their standing action, and so the ideal is that when they jump up, that when their feet hit the board together, at that point the hands should be lifting off. And the reason we want that is as soon as the hands are in the air, then the body's balance mechanisms come into play, and they're going to get a better ride or a better standing action, a fast standing action when they do that. And the final thing is, because both surfers tend to surf through the middle of the wave, they need to be thinking about, whenever possible, get to the bottom and surf top to bottom, off the bottom, off the top, off the bottom, off the top. Obviously here the surf is much more advanced, but the same principle applies, and this is something that they need to look at. So what we'll do from here, once we've pinpointed where the errors are, we'll then take them to the street, and we'll do some street boarding with them to try and simulate these actions in a more effective way before they surf once again. Once we're aware of their errors, we then take them to the area where we can do some street boarding and work on the skills that they're having problems in the water, these foundation skills. And by using the street board, we can simulate in an effective way how they can improve it when they get back into the water. So here we've got the surfers practicing using their arms to generate speed at takeoff. The idea here is to teach them to straighten their body and throw their arms. And at the moment, that skill or that skill or action is unfamiliar to them. It feels weird to them. And doing it on the skateboard, you can encourage them and help them to incorporate it into their brains that this is an action they can do and they can do effectively when they get back into the water. Once they've learned how to use their arms effectively, then you want to incorporate that into some other areas of performance. So here the surfer uses his arms, then he surfs top to bottom as he goes down the road. So that's simulating him getting their speed initially and then surfing top to bottom, off the top, when they get back to the ocean. Another area of performance we can do with the street board is the cutback, and you can see here this is Harry doing his cutback. If we take that back again, the thing we've got to do with Harry is that we want to get him to bend his body more, and so at the start of the turn get into a good set position to bend his body. When we have a look at Lockie, the thing about Lockie was that we wanted him to get into a different arm position. So in the surf, his arm position was more like this, in front of his knee, in front of his thigh. And so in this simulation, it's really important that his arm is in a position that where the shoulder is there, the hip is there, and he's reaching out in that line rather than having a forward arm position that he currently does. So we can simulate these two areas, the improved bending of the body here to what he does in the surf, and the better arm position just here, so that he doesn't have the restriction or the locking of the head at the start of the cutback. What we're trying not to do here is to complete and teach them the full perfect cutback. What we want to do initially is to teach them the good set position at the start of the cutback, and as it moves forward, as you do more training with the surfer, then you incorporate other elements of the technique further later on in the program. One area they do struggle with, especially if they haven't got it, is this lifting of the arm on the backhand. You see here the arm sort of goes up, but it's not perfect. And at this point, this is the first time that I'd work with these boys, and you can see here that as they come up, the arm is being used a little bit. And I know from experience that if they just get in the hang of using the arm so it does lift up rather than not lifting up at all, that's a successful session using the street boards. Because at the moment, we're just getting a feel for changing the movements of the body, and the street board is very, very good for doing that activity. So some things come easier, like the lifting the arms to generate speed. Some things come harder, like the lifting the arm on the backhand to direct the power to the top of the wave. And you just have to be patient with young surfers or when making changes. You want to just have little changes, and that's a successful outcome to try and move back into the surf with those little changes in place. When doing the streetboard sessions, it's good at the end of the session to do a combination drill. And in this case, you can see the surfer throws the arms to get speed, drops to the bottom to do a bottom turn, and then comes up and then does a cutback with good arm position here for this particular, for Lockie, to try and simulate what actually happens in the serve. So if we go back here again, the 3 or 4 things that we played around with or worked on was we wanted to generate horizontal speed by lifting the arms. We wanted them to surf top to bottom by going to the bottom and using the entire wave face. And a key thing is for them to do have a better starting position at the start of the cutback. And if they can do those 3 things at the end of the session, in this case, well, then that's a very, very effective session. And the other thing is with the street boards, it's an enjoyable session because the surfers enjoy using the street board as an effective training tool.